Henry, great to meet you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, yeah, happy to do it.
So before we get into Urban Forum, I want to know one of the biggest things that affected not only everybody on the planet, but musicians was going through that pandemic about 4.5 years ago or so.
hmm
What was going on with you? How did you survive that? And how has it influenced the way that you're doing things now?
Yeah, so I was a junior in high school when that happened,
Okay.
and it was I was at the Jazz Band of America conference in Indianapolis playing with that band in 2020, like right when all the shutdowns started to happen. So we heard it was crazy because it was this like super like the most important, exciting week of high school for me. And as the week is going on, we're hearing worse and worse news. And then by the like day or two before the last day, they announced that we weren't going to do the final concert and that we were just going to like record the band and then like post about it virtually, which I don't think I ever actually got I never got sent the actual like quasi performance, like virtual performance that we did, but I was pretty bummed about it because, that was an exciting moment for me that just got snatched from me, but I mean, it was fine. But as far as uh, that's the context of when it started, but throughout the pandemic, it really just gave me a lot more time to shed. And I think there were good and bad things that came from that, where I'm working out of my system some bad habits of overplaying. I feel like that's been talked about a bunch in relation to COVID is people playing like they're playing with backing tracks. And I'm, I'm no perfect. I definitely let my ear wander and go for things before I'm, absorbing what's happening around me. Um, I mean, it's always a work in progress. So I think I'm not sure if COVID totally influenced that because I like have some pretty gnarly ADHD and am always like, I feel like that's just my mode with everything in my life. So I'm not sure if that's just a music specific thing, but, uh, um, yeah, I honestly wasn't really affected by it too much because we, I had a group that I put together in high school that played around St. Joseph and we just went to doing Monday morning live streams from my friend's basement where we would still get to play as a group and shed and work on like standards. Uh, but it was just it was just for Facebook live stream viewers.
Yeah.
We were just goofing around.
So take me back to your roots, your beginnings in St. Joseph, Missouri. How did the saxophone become your instrument of choice, and how did this journey into the jazz start for you?
It's not a very glamorous tale, or maybe glamour is the one thing about it. But it was weird because they wouldn't let students start on the saxophone, but it was one of the instruments that was on the like try 'em out day in fifth grade to like try out all the instruments. So I tried it out and I was like, dang, this is like way shinier than the clarinet. Like this looks cool. I remember asking my teacher like, can I start on the saxophone? She was like, no, you have to start on the clarinet. I was like, well, if I get a saxophone, can you stop me from playing it in band? And she was like, no. so, so I just got one anyway. So I never started on clarinet. Since then, I've shed a little bit of clarinet and flute and all the doubling stuff. But the saxophone was just immediately like visually, aesthetically, it appealed to me. And then the jazz thing didn't come till high school. With it, kind of the department kind of went downhill throughout my time there, not in a serious way, but in just a when I was first getting to high school, there was a really strong jazz band, and so like to audition and get into it was like a notable feat. Like there were lots of saxophonists that were auditioning and getting in, or not getting in, I guess. And so I remember auditioning and getting in, and I found that out right before the summer going into my freshman year, and then right after that bought and listened to like a Miles Davis and a Charlie Parker compilation records, like those two on iTunes before. like it was kind of right before Apple Music, so I maybe spent some money that I didn't need to spend, but it was nice to just have like I got like a $15 gift card or something and bought those two because they were the most amount of music for the cheapest, and then would just repeat those all the time. And then once the school year started and jazz band was happening, it was listening to those like on the bus to school and home every day, and when I'm walking between classes and stuff. And then maybe halfway through sophomore year, I started taking lessons with Adam Larson. And that's when the whole kind of like explosion of understanding the actual timeline of jazz and being curious about different musicians throughout its history. And like, I feel like a lot of people get into the modern stuff and then look backwards. But for me, it was definitely like Miles and Bird first. Then I found out who like Joshua Redman was, and like maybe like the Young Lions, Eric Katz, and then went back from there, uh, just on this curious stream of like, oh, this guy sounds like this guy because they were listening to this person, and this person sounds like this person because yeah, like things started to actually click
Yeah.
within jazz, you know?
What was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Ooh, that blew me away. It was, and now it's I'm friends with the folks in this band, which feels great. But it was when I first was coming to Kansas City to hear some live music, and I lucked out. It was at the Gem Theater, and it was a band that was it was two cats coming home from Berkeley who I didn't know anybody or like didn't know who they were or anything. I just heard that it was that was like, 18th and Vine, go on the website, look at things. And so it was Morgan Fall and Houston Smith on
Yeah.
altos, and then Eddie Moore, Zach Morrow, and trying to think who was on bass. I think maybe DeAndre Manning on bass. And I didn't know at the time that I was listening to just the most ridiculously killing musicians on each of their respective instruments in town. And then, heard them play, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, I'm not in St. Joseph anymore. Uh, and so that was exciting. From there, it was like, okay, how do I make my own live performances sound like that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you eventually make your way to UMKC. Obviously, you mentioned Adam Larson, who's a teacher there, and so is Stephen Martin. And that was around the time that Carl Allen was taking over the program. So what brought you to UMKC? I mean, you could have picked anywhere, but what was it about coming and being a part of that program?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was money.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think without Adam's guidance on it, I maybe would have jumped the gun and gone straight to New York. And at this point would have been however much painfully in debt that I would have been. But he was a big push of like it's really about the community and the people that you get to know. And like there's nothing in the world that's worth signing off hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, much less a degree that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
um, and looking back, I wouldn't have changed a thing because I feel like I was kind of coming from a small town. I really have enjoyed my time in Kansas City. It's been a great size of community to like get comfortable with and try stuff out with. And I feel like I know a lot of people, all the people that I want to know, or that's maybe uh, I'm jumping the gun on that statement a bit, but definitely like happy with the community here and how like there are maybe a few little cliques of people that are around, but for the most part, everyone is very like warm and open about playing with everybody else and listening to everybody else and checking everybody else out. So it's been good. I've no regrets.
So what has it been like to be at UMKC under Carl Allen and the staff and learning kind of the trade, so to speak, from the classroom perspective?
Um, it's been interesting. I think uh, my first year was Professor Allen's first year, and so there were some big changes as far as how the program was being run, and a lot of people were not a fan of that. There was kind of a whole regime change of there were a lot of teachers that left, some that stayed, new hires, and a lot of students that left. And it kind of, I mean, the first year was really rough, and I think they would, like Professor Allen would agree that it was not, I mean, it was a very bitter year between the staff and the students. And so I'm the only senior from my starting class that has stayed these all 4 years. Um, and it there were some times where I thought about leaving because it just there didn't seem to be a lot of like individual care, as far as there was a lot of like worry and stress, it seemed, from the faculty about things other than the students and the music, so it made it kind of hard as a student to focus on the music. But I think it definitely helped to like, I don't know, I think it was helpful to like try my I just remember trying very hard to like develop a more comfortable relationship with each of the faculty members, and feeling like that somewhat paid off, as far as uh, there's like more of an understanding than some people. Just like as soon as there was any kind of rub from the faculty, there seemed to be a flightiness, which like no, I mean, it's just everybody is how they are, and that's like whatever. But uh, I don't know. I definitely had this mentality for maybe end of freshman year and sophomore year of like buckling down and kind of figuring it out. Uh, it was good. I think outside of just UMKC being UMKC, I think recently I've been thinking a lot about how uh, so much of the innovation in jazz happens from finding things outside of jazz, and kind of trying to figure out why that's always felt weird, and coming to the conclusion that like jazz school, the whole focus of it is to look back on jazz and not explore other things. And so there has been a very like straight ahead energy about UMKC recently, which I think for a while kind of just confused me. And now it's starting to make more sense as like that is a needed stepping stone, but it is definitely not the end goal. I think that's maybe the biggest hiccup, is kind of being felt like it's being taught as like, playing like Dexter Gordon is the end goal. That's like what you want your career to be. And I mean, that's just not what I've conceptualized my career being. So it's just a difference. I don't know. It's been weird. I'm probably rambling. I don't
No,
know.
you're fine. You're fine. But what I find interesting about UMKC, Bobby kind of created this culture of a lot of cats that came out of it, diverse, Mahari, all those guys. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
have moved on, some of them stayed around, but there seems to be that kind of class and crop of students. And now there's kind of a new legion of cats that are coming out and seeing. What has it been like to be so close to such a scene like Kansas City, and to be a part of it, and to play and to get to know these musicians and be a part of it?
It's been really, like I said earlier, it's been really warm and like comforting to know that there are some like real genuine people that have like helped me out in a way that um like yeah, I've received a lot of guidance and a lot of help from folks, and like it's definitely instilled, like being in Kansas City has instilled an idea of me wanting to get to a point where I can give back to the community in a way that is like uh without like need to take from the community, if that makes sense. Like there have been a lot of moments of people giving, just out of the kindness and intensity of like wanting the music in Kansas City to be great, uh, which is like a beautiful thing. I think as far as, I don't believe that as a horn player, it's like sustainable to be just a musician in Kansas City. Like you really, there aren't enough gigs. It's too small of a scene to like make it make sense as just a horn player without doing wedding gigs or teaching or other things like that, which is what I've been doing and is cool. But I definitely would like to push at some point within a few years, push for trying to see what uh, being a horn player would be like in a bigger scene where there's more opportunity for things. There are more labels pushing your music. There's more uh like there's more of an interest in new music. But I'm like forever thankful for Kansas City and happy that I've met everybody that I have. It's been warm. I have only positive things.
So I would figure the culmination of your time here in Kansas City, and with that thought of you thinking another bigger city with more venues and opportunities is going to be a better shot for your future, that releasing the album Urban Forum has to be a pretty big deal. So talk to me a little bit about this album, how it came about, and how you ultimately feel about it now that it's out there.
Yeah, so I felt like I'd been writing for this band. So it's made up of me and three of my closest friends and like musical uh, constituents of a long time. We started playing with that band, and I was like, oh, this sounds like something I haven't heard before, and that makes me curious. And so I started writing specifically for those guys, like the song Urban Forum, The Richer Sun, Baby West. All these tunes were written with them in mind. And it just came to a point where we'd played enough, and I was like, I think it's time to like document uh, what I would consider to be like my biggest achievement in Kansas City musically, that being that band and the like uh I don't know. I mean, it felt great because we'd already played together so much in person that going into the studio felt really comfortable. It felt like when you hear like the elder statesmen of the music talking about uh, the like maturity to be comfortable in the studio and all that, I feel like we were maybe able to get just a piece of that just because we're comfortable with each other. Um, and so I was really happy with the product of it. And Herman Mahari is on two of the tracks, and he has never played live with us, but he's been a big help as far as getting me acquainted with Kansas City, and like he's given me a lot of musical guidance that it was. I've had a few just straight lessons with him that were just like big light bulb moments. And he was coming back to town at the same time we were going to the studio. And I was like, oh, would you be available to come in and play on a couple of them? And he was down and we worked that out. But um, okay. So my thoughts on it after it releasing, we recorded it back in March and April of last year. And so it's been a second since coming out, or that it like in between it being recorded and it being released. So I think everybody, like I hear myself, maybe it's just the young age and still being in school, so learning new things constantly, but I definitely feel like I'm in a different place musically than I was at the time of recording that. But I'm really happy that we got to that comfortable point in the studio because it feels like music that I can kind of stand behind. It's like, yeah, I'm happy that this is the project that I was working on at 20 years old in Kansas City, Missouri, with these people. Like, we're just continuing to grow, and I'm excited to see what else happens in the coming year or two, you know?
I've been doing this since 2011, and I haven't heard that many people that are still in school or is that as young as you are that have released an album. It's always been being a part of albums, but not leading it. So I'm curious, this is a pretty big statement for you that kind of galvanizes your time here in Kansas City. What are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this album?
Hmm. Um, I mean, for me, there are a lot of different like moods of mine that I feel like I was hoping to capture with the different compositions on it. Um, I, I would like to think that it's like musically a something that is a project that is like very clearly showcasing all of the different members of the band's roots in music. Um, so like it has the like swing and jazz idiosyncratic things and um, like more hip hop and folk influences because that's stuff that like I'm really into and some other members of the band are really into. Um, I kind of was focusing on having something that is like steeped in these different traditions, but still sounds like today.
Yeah.
Like kind of the main focus of it was to make a record that sounds like today and reflects the like youthful progressive spirit of today while also being steeped in there's no way to avoid what we learned and how we've grown up with the music. But as far as what I want an audience member to feel, I mean, I hope they groove with it. I hope they like uh I hope the melodies are catchy. I hope that it's something that they like. There are moments in these albums that uh make someone smile or make someone think in a particular way that leaves them throughout the next week kind of going, huh, like I want to go back to that moment and feel that again. Because I think there are some joyful moments, there are some dark moments, there, it's reflecting on life.
So at the end of the day, you're a musician. What is it that you like the best about being a musician? What is it that you look forward to every day creating this music we call jazz?
Mm. I mean, I really enjoy the community of it. I think jazz is nothing if not about the community or and for the community. Um, So knowing that like I care a lot about the people around me and they care about me and we can like express ourselves through this music is very important to me. Um, but something that I saw this summer while at the Kennedy Center for the Betty Carter Jazz Ahead program was that a lot of my like biggest heroes in the music that I was incredibly fortunate to work with were kind of in the same way that they like curated their music and their sound, they curated like every part of their life like that. Like they were very intentional about lots of aspects. So like I'm really into um I'm really into poetry and I'm really into painting and to see like Jason Moran is really into fashion and to see how curated he was about every single thing that he did with his outfits, and then also to be able to talk with him about art and hear about very specific things that he likes. Like I'm I maybe I'm getting a little too esoteric with it, but I'm kind of recently been trying to understand music as just a continuum of every other piece of art where it's like there's no there's no separating uh like hmm, how do I put this? Sorry, this is just a thought
You're
that's
fine.
recently kind of
It's
come up,
good.
but like being intentional about my seems to be something that uh correlates with being intentional about the other parts of my life. So to find like hmm. I guess in my way, or in saying that, I'm trying to say that it feels very fluid. Like it feels like music can mean a lot of different things because like as a human, I'm feeling lots of different things all the time. So sometimes I need it to like blow off some steam and like let people know I'm frustrated. Sometimes it's just a really joyous, I'm having a great evening or a great morning. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to just see it and every other bit of art in life as just an extension of humanity. God, that sounds so like silly, you
No,
know?
you're fine.
But
No, I dig what you're
that
saying.
is,
I get it. I'm a creative person too. I paint and write and do radio and do a lot of things, and I understand
mhm.
that there's a level of them that intersect, and there's a fluidity that goes into being a creative individual, even with fashion with Moran. I mean, it's all part of the continuum of being a creative human being every day you wake up, and it will manifest in different ways.
Yeah, that, and you know what, you saying creative person kind of interests me because that doesn't, in my mind, maybe to circle back on what I hope like a listener would feel is I would maybe hope that they would feel like they would be interested in adding some creativity to their, because I would like to think that everybody's a creative person or has the capacity to. Like if they want to have an opinion about something, like by all means have the opinion, feel a certain way about something. So like I don't know, the idea that music could give me a chance to give that notion to other people of like please like my music or hate my music, but just like I hope that you feel more intentional about the like more beautiful things in life, like not just money. Would I would hope that that would be an effect of my music is to give people some more creative or give people the courage to indulge in the more creative things that are
I dig
going
it.
on.
Totally. So let me ask you this. You had kind of mentioned, whether or not you stay in Kansas City or not, Kansas City's been a big part of your jazz development. And you come from a lineage of, Charlie Parker, you got Pat Metheny, you got Jay McShann, you got even Stan Kessler now, you got Roger Wilder, you got this old world and new world and all you young cats. You're a part of a timeline and a history of being in one of the original cradles of jazz music ever. What does
Mhm.
it mean for you to be a part of that, to have been a part of that, no matter where your path goes in life? What is being a part of this Kansas City lineage meant to you?
Mm. It, I mean, I like it. I like that I'm from Kansas City. Two of my favorite alto saxophonists are from Kansas City, being Charlie Parker and Logan Richardson. Like, it almost feels like a silly, dumb luck thing where I get to hang out in the places that those cats hung out. Um, as far as being a part of the lineage, it's really exciting. It makes me want to like study the past people who've lived here. Um, like trying to just read and learn as much about these people as possible. Um, and then as far as in my like day-to-day life, I would like to just be friends with these people. Stan is a good friend. Roger's a good friend. There are a lot of musicians that I think as long as I have as long as I have a connection with in a way where, I can tell stories and share a piece of my life with them, that is like enough for the lineage to continue because that's I mean, jazz is an oral tradition, but like storytelling is oral. It's passed down through just telling a story, like here. So um, I try not to like sweat it too much and make it like influence like musical decisions because I think that that sort of thing really should come from my ear and what I like sonically, and I should just I've kind of been trying to force myself to just trust myself more and feel like if I have the thought is like okay, and I can try it out. If it sounds like shit, then don't keep having that thought. But uh, yeah, it makes me feel confident to like uh, be able to make a stamp on what I would hope sounds like today and like the feelings of today, and just trust that that will 2025 slot for Kansas City. Like this is what if it sounded like to be a young person in Kansas City in 2025.
So,
But yeah,
yeah. So, Henry, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone that gets your music, sees you live, everyone that you go to school with, teachers, everyone. But you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
in a lot of ways, I'm hmm. In a lot of ways, I'm like very fortunate as a person to have grown up with like minimal uh, issues, or maybe I won't say that, but to like go to college um, at a good school, like being given the situations that I've been given has been like I feel lucky to have them, and as a musician, it kind of gives me the confidence to feel like I have the the energy uh to be giving in that, like to put on a show, to give other people a feeling of the creativity that we were talking about earlier. So for me, it's kind of trying to, I definitely see myself as like, again, not to sound too esoteric, but maybe a sort of vessel where it's like, if other people who aren't musicians and don't have as much fun with their job and don't feel as comfortable with themselves all the time, can come to my show and get a piece of that and have the, like, if I can give them some of my energy so that they have some energy to, like, care for themselves more, have more energy to think creatively or pursue some creative endeavors, that's definitely really big for me. So that sounds so silly though.
No, you're good. No, I think this question can be pretty big and daunting. No, I think you did great. I think you nailed it.
Okay, yeah.
So Urban Forum is on Bandcamp. If anyone wants to find out about gigs, your history, anything else going on, you got a website. Is that the best place to go?
Yeah, I've got a calendar with upcoming gigs, as well as like a bio and links to streaming the music and all that. And I'm also selling CDs through my website right now, but it's kind of just a link to Venmo for, like, if someone wants to send me a private Venmo with the address to send it to, I'll go ship it to that address, $15, like old school indie type stuff. But yeah.
Cool. Henry, this has been great, man. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with the release, man.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe. It's been great to, like, actually chat and talk about some creative stuff with you. It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely it has. Hey.